Good afternoon once again, and welcome to the 2023 IHF Beach Handball Education Week, where leading experts from the world of beach handball will share their knowledge and experience throughout the next days. My name is Adrian Costello. I'm a member of the IHF media team, and I will be your host throughout this week in the trip around the world of beach handball. Like I said, together with our experts, we'll touch interesting parts of the sport, from the last trends in attack and defense, which we covered already, to special situations from the coaches and the referees' perspectives, and also how to prevent injuries, which is the theme of today's webinar. To begin with, we would like to let you know that these sessions will be in English, but in this Zoom call, we have translations available in French, Spanish, and Arabic. It's quite easy to switch to them. It's the globe, the icon there in the bottom of your screen, the interpretation. It's one click away, and if you click that globe icon, you can switch to your preferred language. Like I've outlined already, it's French, Spanish, and Arabic. The IHF Virtual Academy is a new and innovative element for the worldwide education for coaches, referees, delegates, and PE teachers. It will also serve as a platform to provide live seminars, e-learning seminars, and license courses for different target groups in the future. These sessions fall under the umbrella of the IHF Education Center, available at ihfeducation.ihf.info. And all of these sessions are recorded and will be available on the website I've just mentioned, ihfeducation.ihf.info, for on-demand video. Okay, so for today, it's the fourth presentation in the IHF Beach Handball Education Week, and we have an IHF lecturer with us, Alexander Novakovic, the Germany women's senior national team coach, which will underline how can injuries be avoided and how important long-term athletic plans with transfer periods between beach and indoor handball are. Also, we have a Q&A section after the presentation from Alexander, so we encourage you to send our questions in the Q&A part of the Zoom, and then we'll answer in the last part of the webinar. So Alexander, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Welcome everybody to this last part of the coach's view in the educational week. I tried to share my screen with you and to start the presentation. For 1 second, please. Yes, should be working. I will go to the presentation mode, and you must see now my presentation in a good way of looking. Yeah, welcome again to this last part. This week you saw different topics in beach handball about offense, about defense, and for sure also how to prepare your team for a championship or for a tournament. And now the last part of the coaches part of this beach handball week should be, for me, really important topic: injury prevention and how you can do it in three main parts. I will go on, and yeah, really important, especially then when you have players who play beach handball and indoor handball. And mostly of us, we have these players in both disciplines. So only one slide about me, that you know who I am. I'm not a fan to talk about a lot about the lecturer. I'm sitting now in Munich, in Germany. You know probably the FC Bayern Munich or the Oktoberfest. And I'm married, 2 sons, and I am since 2015 in different national teams, youth and senior national teams in the German Handball Federation. The last 2 years were really exciting with the European title, the world title, and gold medal in the World Games. It's really successful. That's all to me. I'm not a scientific guy. I'm not a medicine guy. So what you hear now is for sure underlined with some studies and some data of these guys, but especially in my own experience. The agenda for the next 35-40 minutes We look an injury overview in different studies and also what happened in the German Federation in the last 3 years. We have to look what injury happened, that we can go on and that we can talk about how to prevent your players before these injuries. Then one part is a long-term athletic cycle. So I like to draw your attention to athletic programs, how you can use it in a specific way also for beach handball. Then I go for me in the main part of my presentation, and the most important part, to create a transfer period between the indoor surface and beach handball surface sand, especially for sure for those players who play both. Then the fourth part, probably a topic where we can fulfill a whole agenda about this, but I like to draw your attention on regeneration and all the aspects there. And then we have plenty time together with Adrian to ask some questions. Okay, no time. We go in on the injury overview. And there is one study, for example, there are more studies, but one for me important study. Beach handball is safer than indoor handball from Mr. Achenbach. The study is from the European Championship 2017, and yeah, the address is here on the bottom, but also the data what is standing here is from the German national teams between 2019 and 2022. So what the three main parts, what came out, what happened most is that we have lower injury rates in beach handball than in indoor handball. The medicine guys spoke from dropout rates. So the dropout rate of more than 5 days is in beach handball extremely low. Then the second part is we have in the German Federation, German teams, we have no injury with more than 4 weeks out in the Euro 2019 and 2021. So no strong injury occur in beach handball in our teams, in all our teams. What we have and what we have to take care are some overuse injuries, especially after the transfer from beach handball to indoor handball or the other way around. And what you have to know, and what we know from the last lecturers in this week, that we have a lot higher energy costs for training, for jumping, for running on sand, that's for sure. So that is what happened most. And so, but our task should be, and it is our task, the coach's task, to nearly kill all the injury aspects. We don't want to have a player who is injured for sure. And I like to draw your attention to three main parts of the injury prevention. The first part is how we can create individual long-term athletic plans, considering beach and indoor load, and for sure beach and indoor requirements. So it handles all with preparation. The second part is an individual transition period between the surfaces for each player. So we have to protect the player with a transition period before, for example, after the beach handball season, your player goes back to the rigid surface, to the indoor handball. And the third part at the end of my presentation is, I like to draw your attention to the regeneration part, and especially for those who play indoor and beach handball at the same time. Yes. Athletic plans. This part is not here to show you what you have to do in your athletic preparation or in your athletic cycle. But what I like to show you is, for this is an example of a 1 year athletic cycle, of a long-term athletic cycle of my German women team. And it doesn't matter in which class the players are. I like to say to you that do it in a long-term way. look the whole year, divide the year into some mesocycles, so smaller periods, smaller cycles, and look what the player needs in this a special cycle. So in this example, you see today, this is what we are now in Germany, in Europe. The indoor season has finished or is finished in the next days or is already finished in the last days. So we have after the indoor season the possibility for a regeneration phase in beach athletic, and then we go, and this is the yellow part where we have today, the marker of today. We have the beach athletic phase, where we would do an athletic task, especially and specific on sand for all the needs the player has for beach handball. Then we have a tapering phase where we go down with the repetitions, and we will go down with the load in front of a specific competition. For example, here in Germany, the European Championship, normally in July. So this is the competition. Then after the competition, for sure, we have again a small regeneration phase and the athletic transition, where I like to point out it later. And then we go back to the indoor cycle in August, in September. In the European calendar, it's the indoor season starts around September. So in August, we go back to the athletic transition and the preparation for the indoor phase. So this is, I think, a really, really important thing to make a long-term thing, not to look. The beach handball coach gives some exercises the player should do only for beach handball, the indoor coach number 1 and the indoor coach number 2 only for the indoor task. So the message is, do it long term and try to do it specific. How? Yes, together build the athletic plan or adjust an existing plan with the indoor and the beach requirements together for the whole season. Together with all the coaches who take care of your athlete, for sure, as I said. Then at the end, it brings you advantages for all. The change of surface, for example, in the last indoor periods. As you know, probably know, mostly of the indoor coaches like to train at the end of the indoor season in a way that the performance goes not down, but probably the performance at the end of indoor season cannot go up. The time is too long. The season is too long. So you like to train for a performance, how can I say, to stabilize the performance. But what some scientific guys pointed out is, when you change the surface at the end of the indoor season and you don't do more or you don't do other exercises, for example, in jumping exercises or in speed starting exercises, when you simply change the surface to sand in the last 6 weeks of the indoor season, then we recognized a performance plus at the end of the indoor season. So this is really exciting for the indoor coaches, and for sure also for the beach handball coaches, because we have in this way at the end of the indoor season a specific preparation for the beach handball phase, and for sure also an transition. So advantages for all. Yes, on sand, different and partly new muscle parts are addressed. That's the reason we have an performance plus. And now I have some problems with this. Sorry for some second. I cannot see the presentation anymore. What's happened now?
You can try to restart it, Alexander, if it doesn't work.
Yes, I will try it. Sorry for
I
that.
think it's better to start it.
That was not the plan. You all of your cameras and faces are now in the middle of the presentation. And I cannot point it out. Okay, I will do more. That's no problem. At the end, what comes out when you do it together and when you have advantages for all, you will get for sure a better athlete on all surfaces. So on both surfaces, you have a better knowledge to the coaches, a better beach handball knowledge to the indoor coaches, and for sure a better indoor knowledge for the beach handball coaches. So you have to talk to each other. You have a better trust in beach handball, and you have less prejudice what we all handle or what we have to handle about that the typical narratives in beach handball is so bad for the indoor players, risks for injuries is really high, but if you do it together, then trust is created. The communication part is really important during the indoor season. You need to have a close communication. Maybe visit your indoor club once a year as a beach handball coach, go to the indoor club and try to talk to them that the typical narratives going down. If an athlete has to play a lot, discuss with the club whether a nomination for your beach handball camp or for the beach handball phase makes sense. In doubt, give the athlete a break for sure. And yeah, you can get for sure also the athlete's opinion, but from my experience, the athlete always wants to play for sure. Yeah. Then the third part, and in my side, the most important part is the transfer period between the beach and the indoor season. And I will start with a video. So we are now in the second part of the protection individual transition period. And I like to start with a video. I have for you an English subtitle, and for sure the translators are here with you. The video will take 7 minutes. At the end, I will point out the main parts of the video. So this is from a research project from the German Handball Federation and the University of Münster. We tried to make in different Leistungsdiagnostics. We pointed out that beach handball with transition period is better than without, and you will see the main parts now in the video.
Ja, wir haben mit der WWU Münster, mit der Uni Münster ein Projekt seit 2 Jahren jetzt laufen. Und ja, im letzten Jahr war der Fokus vor allem so ein bisschen zu erforschen, wie der Übergang vom Medium Halle einfach effektiver gestaltet werden kann, präventiver gestaltet werden kann. Und jetzt in diesem Jahr will die WWU Münster testen, wie sich verschiedene Sandarten auf die Sprünge auswirken. Grobkörniger Sand, feinkörniger Sand, wenn er auch ein bisschen nasser ist, wenn er trockener ist, da will man rausfinden, wie dieser Sand sich auf Sprünge, auf die Sprungqualität und auf die Sprungleistung auswirkt.
Im Beachhandball besteht die Problematik, dass die Athleten und Athletinnen vornehmlich aus dem Hallenhandball kommen und relativ abrupt von dem Untergrund Halle auf den Untergrund Sand wechseln, und diese Übergänge möchten wir optimieren. Das Projekt läuft über 2 Jahre. Der Schwerpunkt im ersten Jahr ist die Evaluation des Übergangstrainings in der Halle und im Sand. Und im zweiten Jahr liegt der Fokus auf der Individualisierung des Übergangstrainings, und der Schwerpunkt 2 verschiedener Sandarten kommt noch ins Spiel.
Das Übergangstraining besteht aus insgesamt 6 verschiedenen Übungen, dauert ungefähr 20 Minuten und wird in Ergänzung zum normalen Hallentraining durchgeführt. Die Übungen bestehen aus Sprungformen lateraler, vertikaler und horizontaler Ausrichtung. und werden mit einem progressiven Anteil entsprechend des Untergangs durchgeführt. Das heißt, beim Übergang von Halle in Sand wird Woche für Woche der Anteil an Sprüngen auf Sand erhöht. Beim Übergang vom Sand in die Halle wird entsprechend verletzungsprophylaktisch der Anteil an Sprüngen vom Sand reduziert und entsprechend auf festem Untergrund gesteigert. Der Schwerpunkt des Übergangstrainings von Halle auf Sand liegt in der Leistungsverbesserung im Sand und im Leistungserhalt in der Halle. Der Schwerpunkt des Übergangstrainings von Sand in Halle liegt in der Leistungserhaltung und der Verletzungsprävention.
Wir führen 3 Leistungsdiagnostiken durch. Die erste Leistungsdiagnostik findet Mitte, Ende der Hallensaison statt, die zweite Leistungsdiagnostik während der Beachsaison und die dritte Leistungsdiagnostik zu Beginn, Mitte der Hallensaison. Wir messen Sprung, Sprint und Agilitätsleistung auf Hallenuntergrund und Sanduntergrund. Bei der Sprungdiagnostik geht es darum, über eine dreidimensionale markerbasierte Bewegungsanalyse die Bewegung genau zu erfassen. Bei den Kraftmessungen erfassen wir die Sprünge, also die Bodenreaktionskräfte bei den Sprüngen, und wir können über die Elektromyographie die Muskelaktivitäten erfassen. Und die besondere Herausforderung bei den Messungen im Sand ist der Sand an sich. Das heißt, der Sand ist sehr veränderlich und wir sind hier in Münster in der Lage, den Sand sozusagen in die Halle, ins Labor zu transportieren, indem wir Sandkästen gebaut haben, die auf Kraftmessplatten stehen. Das heißt, wir können eine Sandsituation im Labor erzeugen unter standardisierten Bedingungen und können die Sandsituation wirklich genau analysieren.
Hinsichtlich der vorläufigen Ergebnisse können wir soweit sagen, dass das Übergangstraining erfolgreich war. Das heißt, wir konnten bei den Beachhandballern, Beachhandballerinnen, die trainiert haben, einen Leistungserhalt oder eine Leistungsverbesserung auf beiden Untergründen feststellen. Wiederum bei den Handballerinnen und Handballern, die nicht trainiert haben, konnten wir einen Leistungserhalt bzw. einen Leistungsabfall feststellen. Hinsichtlich des zweiten Schwerpunkts konnten wir feststellen, dass der Sand einen immensen Einfluss auf die Leistungsfähigkeit hat. Das heißt, dass beispielsweise bei weicherem Sand das Einsinkverhalten deutlich größer ist und das auch einen Einfluss auf die Sprunghöhe hat. Natürlich stehen wir in Grundlage unserer Kooperation mit dem Deutschen Handballbund permanent mit den Trainern und Trainerinnen in Kontakt. Das heißt, die Ergebnisse unserer Leistungsdiagnostiken werden von uns entsprechend weitergeleitet.
Ja, das Projekt ist für den Deutschen Handballbund sehr wegweisend und das Ganze ist natürlich auch für uns dann in der Ausbildung auch unserer Beach-Trainer und Trainerinnen extrem wichtig, weil die müssen ja wissen, wie kommen die Athleten und Athletinnen dann aus der Halle zu mir, wie kann ich die sinnvoll aufbauen, wie kann ich die dann aber auch wieder den Hallentrainern entsprechend zurückführen, ja, was muss man dabei beachten, und da ist das Ergebnis oder die Ergebnisse sehr relevant für uns auch in der Praxis.
Okay, I think we can cancel now. So the main parts, I hope you get the main parts, and I will present it again for you. So what we did in the 2 years, we create different transition periods and try to find out what is the best adaptation between indoor season and the beach handball season. And we have 2 groups of athletes. The first group comes from indoor to sand without transition, and the second group comes from indoor to sand with transition. And for sure, at the end of the beach handball season, back from sand to indoor. And then what came out was create this transition period between seasons, phases of different surfaces, between indoor and beach season. And the best outcome is a transition period of 6 weeks. 6 weeks. For sure, you can have an adaptation if the calendar is not perfect for this 6 weeks, but in our experience, 6 weeks has the best outcome. And you don't need to have a break between indoor and beach handball. You can simply include this transition exercises. And for sure also, there is also no need to train extra to make the transition exercises extra, for example, in addition, or only 6 weeks, only the transition period, and you cannot do beach handball or indoor handball in between. So you can simply adapt it. And there are some exercise parts in the plyometrics, so in jumping exercises, in some high intensity runs, in short specific sprints, and in change of direction runs. And these two exercise parts, jumps and runs with load, with change of direction, for sure you probably have it in your athletic indoor plans. So simply what you have to do in the last weeks of the indoor season, change the surface, do the same exercises, but only on sand. And we have one more part, the rotation work, what in our experience is really important for preparation of the spin shots. So we have in indoor handball, we have no rotation movements in the normal indoor techniques. So we have to prepare these rotation movements before going to the sand and doing from one day to another a lot of spin shots, a lot of rotation movements. So for example, you can prepare this rotation work with medicine ball work. We call it medicine ball work, simple exercises with these medicine balls, throw it in a rotation against the wall, for example. You all know these exercises. So this is the transition period and the message is created. And for sure back after the beach handball season, prepare the load on the indoor surface during the last beach weeks. In our experience, this transition back to the rigid surface, back to the indoor handball is more important than the other way around. Because when you go from indoor to the sand, sand is a surface which it's a really dynamic surface. You cannot have how can I say it's difficult to explain it in English. You cannot have an injured on your leg, for example, because sand is dynamic. You can go into the sand with your feet, for example. So you don't have to break it, for example. And the other way around, from the sand surface to the indoor surface, you have shoes and you have not a dynamic surface. It's hard, and you get power again again the leg. So this is the more important transition, and you have to prepare this load on indoor surface during the last beach handball weeks. And for sure, you have to prepare the 1-against-1 with body contact. We came from a sport in summer in beach handball season where we have a bodiless sport. So you have for sure, especially prepare the 1-against-1 in indoor handball. And yeah, there's also the same as the other way around. There's no need to train extra. There's no need to make a long break. There is no need to adapt, especially some exercises. Simply change the surface. So in the German Federation, before we go back, before we finish the beach handball season, before we go back to the indoor handball, we start for finishing the beach handball season with the same exercises, jumping, change of direction runs, specific high intensity sprints, but simply on indoor surface. And in our experience, what is really good to adapt the body to the new surface indoor rigid is a minimum of 5 days completely transition break. That's what in our experience came the last year. So you can do it without the transition break, but from sand to rigid surface, the transition break is recommended in our experience. And for sure, you include simply the transition in your weekly plan, so you don't have to do something extra. And then during the indoor season, we have beach handball parts, small parts, for example, in national team weeks, where the indoor season has a short break of 1 or 2 weeks, where the beach handball has time to come together and make a small camp. And also there, in this short transition phases to sand on the left side, we prepare especially the rotation movements, and we prepare on, you have to be aware of a higher number of jumps on sand. So you don't have to time in these small transitions to make the whole 6-week transition, but you have to prepare especially rotation movements and the higher number of jumps. But because we know from what happened of injuries, most is overuse risk, especially in these movement parts. So you have to prepare rotation movements and a higher number of jumps. And to indoor back, for sure, we have to prepare also from a 4 or 5 days beach handball camp. We have to prepare the full body contact again. So the first day of indoor training after a beach handball camp, for example, with the national team, we recommend to the clubs to do a training without body contact. And for sure, as I said before, there's a need of a really close communication between the coaches and also between the physiotherapists of your beach handball team and your indoor team. Some exercises, what you can do for a transition back into indoor handball. These are some small videos. I will mute the video. So the first one is left on the top. It's simply some running ABC. We call it running ABC. You can do it on sand surface when you start the transition to sand in the last weeks of the indoor season. And if you like to do it for the transition to indoor handball, then for sure you will do it on a hard surface, on a rigid surface. You can do it outside here behind your house, for example, but also for sure in the indoor gymnasium or in the indoor sports hall. So jumping ABC, running ABC, these are these parts of exercises, ABC running drills. Then the next one is left on the button. I start the video the same. We call it start and stop. You know it also. It's really, really simple stuff. So you don't have to think about something extraordinary. Take the easy and simple exercises. All the players can do it. And that's the best outcome for the transition phase. Then right on the top, we have some plyometrics, so some jumping exercises. Here you can do it in a reactive way or in a normal way, squat jumps. Here also on a hard surface. So we are now, or this player is now playing beach handball in the last weeks, and he is in a transition period to indoor handball. You can do it with some small weights also, and yeah, it concerns in which constitution is your player, in which part of the athletic plan, but these are all examples of exercises. And this is the really simple stuff. So counter movement jumps, squat jumps, running ABC. That's simple and effective. And the last part is on the right bottom. We have here some jumps in a vertical and horizontal dynamic situation. So not only in front or back, but we have it also left and right, so in a other direction. We have here some start and stop things with change of direction jumps and small starting sprints. So in all the dimensions, in all angles, yeah, that's also some really easy stuff for transition. Pogos and reactive jumps also like that. So that's simple but effective. Some examples what you can do, and for sure you can use these exercises the same way for the transition to beach handball, but then do it simply on sand. That's all. We jump to the next slide and to the last part of the lecture of some aspects of regeneration. Also, the whole thing regeneration is a lecture topic where we can speak 1 hour and what we can do the next time. But this picture is for me the best way to learn your player what they can do in all aspects of regeneration. The task of this picture is to get 100 regeneration points every day. It's from the former German head coach of athletics, David Gröger. And this idea, I think it's really simple and I like it really, really much. So players in youth categories or also some senior players, when you show them this picture and say the task, you should try to get 100 points every day. And you will see there's a competition run, and the players will talk to each other. Okay, how many points do you have? Yes, did you have yesterday, and so on. And this is really all aspects what you can simply do for regeneration. The first category is sleep. Really, really important. 9 hours of sleep per night. So you can get 20 points, for example, for 9 hours sleep. Then you can do a 30 minutes power nap at noon for 10 points, and so on. And also important, 30 minutes before sleep, no mobile phone, no TV, no computer, no blue screens in front of your eyes. So category sleep, 40 points. Then category nutrition, what you can eat, what you can try to eat best. And also really simple things. If you have no time for a breakfast, for a good breakfast, but okay, then you don't can have good eggs or a dairy, for example, but then you have the chance to drink a lot of water in the whole day without training, and especially water with a rate of sodium or natrium of 50 to 200 milligram per liters. So you can look at your water, what you are drinking right now, and what is the natrium rate, the sodium rate. Look at it. In my water here, it's 7.6 milligram per liters. So it's really bad water. So try to use a water minimum of 50 milligram per liter, especially when you do training. Then 3 servings of fruits and so on. You can make a post-workout shake, 25 grams of proteins before going to sleep, for example, cashew nuts. And that's the category nutrition. And then the last one, active and passive recreation, is a contrast shower, hot, cold, 4 to 6 times for 30 seconds, physiotherapy, massage, active regeneration, running, swimming, cycling for minimum of 30 minutes the week or a day, and mobility exercises, stretching, light weight training, for example. So try to reach 100 points per day. For sure, it's not possible, or mostly of the days it's not possible, but if you reach 80, 70, 80, 90 points, it's perfect. So use this picture, give it to your players, and it's better to do this or to try to get all aspects instead of do nothing. So more regeneration is a better performance at the end. You will have a better a better performance plus, a better development of performance. The parts is, or the topic is their super comprehension. So, and you have a better performance, you have less injuries, and for sure at the end it's more success. Then in our national teams, we have some important facts for nutrition. For me, or for us in the German Federation, these 4 parts of nutrition parts is the most important ones. Vitamin D, it's important for defense functions of your body, for the muscle functions and for mud. Then vitamin C, the protection against stress, immune defense and regeneration. Then omega-3 for the cell protection and for regeneration things, and zinc for the hormone formation and for the immune defense. So these 4 aspects we try to get to the players in the normal way of eating, but in front of a really stressful championship, we try to use it also plus not only via the meals. We try to use it also in other forms to get it to the players. So nutrition, these 4 parts, really the most important ones. And then at the end, I like to close the lecture with one sentence here, that we try, all of the beach handball coaches, we enthusiasts have to try to educate the coaches that the typical narratives, like for example, beach handball leads to injuries, or beach handball is bad for your indoor career is wrong. You saw now in the last parts of my lecture that you have a lot of advantages to play beach handball the whole year for sure, but also in the summer break of the indoor season. You get some information the week about the technical and tactical advantages in offense and defense, in decision making, for example, issues. And now you got from me the information how you can reduce the risk or minimize the risk of injuries, and what beach handball can also help to prevent injuries. And with good communication and with load control, with a 1 year long-term athletic structure, every beach athlete will benefit for indoor handball. That's, for me, it's sure. And for sure in athletic, in technical and tactical, and in decision-making issues. Playing in defense, yesterday, Gorm did a fantastic job with his defense lecturer. When you imagine you have some youth players in under 16, under 14, under 18, who are playing beach handball in the summer month in minority. So you learn them to think defense in the other way, as they can learn it in indoor handball. They have to have an active way of playing defense, as Gorm yesterday said. They do not react, they have to act, and they have to think to anticipate the defense role. And when this way of thinking a defense will transfer to indoor handball, where they have no minority, where it's the same level of players, then they will have a lot of advantages in thinking beach handball defense, in thinking defense also in indoor handball. Or the other way around, when you have a player in the offense who is every time in beach handball in crunch time, 10 minutes, every time is crunch time in beach handball, no time to take a break, no time to take a mental break. You have also, every time in beach handball, you have to make some decisions, and some decisions in 4 against 3. So this player is for sure also really good educated in decision-making issues in indoor handball, and especially in indoor handball, in modern indoor playing handball in 7 against 6 situations. So we have a lot of things that we can transfer from beach handball also in the education and the mini beach handball. Here in Europe, there's Alexander Novakovic, for example. He is a good way of thinking mini beach handball when you try to educate the small guys, 6, 5, 8 years children's, the way of playing handball. We here in Europe observe, for example, in the children handball side, some guys who are really good educated, and they dribble the whole handball field and don't pass the ball to the other children's. We cannot dribble in beach handball. We cannot. We have to play the ball, and yeah, if we don't catch the ball, then the ball is not rolling over the whole indoor field. No, it's stopping on the sand. So a lot of facilities, a lot of issues for beach handball is also really good for children's education in the whole sport of handball. So try to do it with good communication, with load control. I hope you get the main point to create the transition phase in all the aspects, in all levels of beach handball. It's easy. You don't have to do it extra. Simply transfer it early into the new surface where you like to go. And then at the end, you will have a lot of advantages. You will have less injuries, that's for sure. And that's also proved by a lot of scientific studies. And yeah, that's my message to try it in this way. Thank you for taking part. And now for sure, I'm at your disposal for some of your questions.
Thank you, Alexander. Now I'm gonna check all the time the quantity of the sodium in my water, which I drink. So the first question we would like to ask you is, since beach handball and indoor handball are linked in one way or another, what are the different activities to develop in an indoor handball player to train a good beach handball player?
So I understand the question, how you have to educate the indoor player that he's also in summer times a good beach handball.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, then I pointed out in my last sentences a part of the answer of this question. In indoor handball, we have in the last years a tendency to 7 against 6 to play. And so I think this is really good also for the beach handball education, where we play also 4 against 3. In indoor handball, mostly there is 1 or maximum 2 players of the 7 against 6, where the player is making the decision which position throws to the goal. In beach handball, every player is in decision-making crunch time. So the 7 against 6 situation is, I think, really good. In defense situations, we should play more often also in indoor handball in minority, not only for the beach handball parts, which follows. So I think also in my jobs or in my phases where I was coach of an indoor handball team, not really high level, 2nd, 3rd league here in youth handball in Germany. I trained some parts also in minority in indoor handball, because I like the way of thinking, to learn my players the way of thinking, to anticipate and not to react, so to act. And when you are in minority, you have to act, because then you are too late. So I think these 2 parts should be main parts of your answer, of my answer.
Beach handball is also a very young sport. We've talked about this in the other webinars, and there are some questions regarding this transition from indoor handball to beach handball. If there is another proper setup for this transition, I mean, if there's no infrastructure and little know-how, how would you do it? What's the best way to try, or where to start this transition?
you don't need any infrastructure. You have a rigid surface outside, on the street, on a place, I don't know. You can do it outside. You don't need any infrastructure. You simply need a rigid surface for the transition back to indoor handball. And for the transition to the sand, you need for sure sand. You have a playing ground for children, there is sand. You have beaches and you have sand. So it's no special infrastructure needed. And then do the simple exercises as I show. I go back in my presentation. For example, this one's here. Yeah, I start the 4 videos again, if you like. Without sound for sure. So do this simple exercises. Yeah, simple jumps in both directions, front and back, and also left and right. Do some running ABC drills, and do it simple. You don't need Leistungsdiagnostics. Yes, in a competitive way of playing beach handball, it's better for sure. But if you are on the basis, on a normal level, simple jumps on sand, simple jumps over some chairs or some tables, for example, from table back to the sand, and then again in a reactive way. So there's no special infrastructure needed. Keep it simple. That's the most effective way.
You've answered another question, because one other question was, how do you prevent injuries during transition periods without advanced scientific tools? So that's the answer to this question. We know that
the scientific part is proved for sure. Now with my team, we get some results, and the results of the scientific parts is do the transition phase, do it with simple exercises. As I said, you don't need to have special infrastructure, but do it 6 weeks long. Start in the first week with 1 or 2 times a week on the new surface, on the second week with more times, and on the 3rd and 4th week only on the new surface. And do it at the end of the indoor season, where the indoor season is still running. You will have a performance plus also in indoor load and indoor performance, not only for beach handball. And you will do a perfect transition in the new surface with simple exercises. That's all.
Unfortunately, there are injuries in handball. In indoor handball, especially, we see many knee injuries, the ACL tears. One question here in beach handball: which are the most serious injuries one can find in beach handball?
So really serious injuries for sure occur, but not that much than in indoor handball. That's some studies worldwide pointed this point out. So this is the first narrative what we have in Middle Europe, for example, that beach handball lasts for a lot of injuries. That's not true. We have injuries for sure. We have to be aware for overuse injuries, especially in beach handball, in the leg parts, in the knees, in the ankles of the legs, and for sure in the feet. So these are the parts where we have contact after a blocking situation, where the defense player tries to block the ball from the wing position, for example, and where it comes after the ball throw, after the ball is throws to the goal, after it can be a contact in the leg region. So this is the most risk of injuries, but not that serious ones as we have in indoor handball. The speciality in beach handball is that we have some new movements what we do not train the whole year as a handballer. I pointed it out with the rotation work. So we have to prepare and be aware for that. But due to the bodiless sport and due to also the fair play way of thinking of our game, I'd liked really much what Gorm Andersen yesterday said about thinking fair play also in a final of a world championship. And that's also the way of thinking what I like and what my team does. Also in the highest league, we try to play fair play, that no one is injured. And all under the line, that is the outcome, that we have less injuries in comparison to indoor handball. What we have to be aware is the overuse parts for beach handball, and what we have to be aware really much is when the players are playing indoor and beach handball. Then we have to point out a long-term athletic circle. We have to point it out with regeneration, focus, and at the end, there's a risk, still a risk for sure, but with my 3 parts, as I pointed out, we can minimize the risk for injuries to a really low level.
Can a proper and long warm-up limit injuries in beach handball? Does that affect also the injury?
For sure, warm-up is important. Point. Warm-up is important. You all have your warm-up programs. There's no specialty. We have in the German Handball Federation the code MAPS. So it's M for mobilization, A for activation, P for potentiation, and S in MAPS for specialization. So mobilize your body. You know some exercises about it. Activated with some jumping or running parts. Then potentials, the exercise with for sure, and then the specification with the ball in your hand. That's the code in the German Federation, but warm-up for sure is really important.
How are players trained to manage falls and landings on the sand? Is it also an important part to avoid injuries?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
How are players taught to manage falls and landings on the sand? Does that also impact injuries, or injuries not happening?
So I understand the question like to train or to learn the players how to land in the right way.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I would say I know this topic from indoor handball a lot, where we have teaching material how to land in the right way to do not have an injury. I would say the landing techniques in beach handball is not that important than in indoor handball, because we have a soft surface, a dynamic surface, as I pointed out on the first part in my lecture. But if we have some technique exercises, for example, for the spin shot or for blocking and defense, where a player makes a lot of repetitions in blocking jumps, I, as a trainer, try or be aware or like to have the sand where the player is landing with the high repetition is this where the sand on this region is soft. So I after 5, 4, 6, 7 repetitions, I stop the exercise. I go into the region where the landing spot is of the blocking player, for example, and then I fulfill. Can I say that? I fulfill the part.
Yes, you try to make the sand in the same way it was before.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So that you can do, and then I would say the landing technique is not so important in comparison to indoor. The risk what we have is a contact between the defense player who is jumping in a block and then an offense player who is doing the spin shot after throwing the ball. That's a little bit risky. So if you go to exercises to learn blocking or spin shot with blocking, then you have to be aware of this situation. But yeah, that would be my answer.
Okay, Alexander, and one last question because time is almost up. I know you've prepared the slides and you've talked about everything, and especially about the differences between indoor and beach handball. But in your opinion, because there's a question here, what's the biggest difference between the physical preparation of an indoor player and for a beach player?
I would say the spots of physical preparation of a beach handball player should be more focused on jumping facilities, on start sprinting, start running facilities in a really short, specific way. So jumping facilities, jumping exercises, jumping performance in a specific way on sand, for sure. It's another thing of performance development than on indoor handball or on indoor surface. And the jumping part in our sport, I think, is more important than in indoor handball. What is not so important at the end, that we have when you have the picture of indoor handball of a pivot, for example, then he is really strong and you know, it's not that a dynamic player, a fast jumping player. And so it's also the differences in the physical preparation. Also the long-term physical performance is not that important in beach handball. We have shorter phases of performance, of load. So you can train it also in a really specific way, do short athletic load, give them short athletic physical load, and then give them a break. So do it in a specific way. Also beach handball, we have short attacks of 15-20 seconds, and then we go out. We have a break of 15-20 seconds, and then we go again in. So you can do it also in your physical preparation in this specific way. In indoor handball, the phases of load are longer, are, for example, 30 or 40 seconds. And then it comes to a small break, for example, when you have a small break for a formation of defense in indoor handball, for example. So do it in a specific way. So the differences are there, yes, but at the end, I think you can train for both disciplines, for indoor and for beach handball, but do it on the right surface, on the right time. This is my message, and then you will have an advantage for both. The differences are not that big, I would say.
Alexander, thank you very much for this webinar, this presentation, and for your answers on the last questions. This webinar concludes here. We are still 3 days. We have 3 days more of webinars in the 2023 IHF Beach Handball Education Week. So we are waiting for you also tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday from 1 CEST, that's Central European Standard Time. Thank you very much for your attendance. Have a nice day. Goodbye.